OC Rock Radio. It is time for the Cover 2 podcast live from Mission Viejo, California in the OC Rock Radio studios. I'm Nick Neenan.
And I'm Jared Smith.
And we have a fantastic show for you today. The Super Bowl was this weekend. Fantastic game between two it was a great game. I know most of you saw it. It was 111 people watched the game. Jared, I wanted to start with you. How did you enjoy the game? Did you throw a party? Were you at a party or something to watch the game?
A small gathering. I was at my girlfriend's house, and we just watched the game. Her dad is a big he's a big chef, so he cooked up some barbecue, had some drinks. We were all hyped up for the game.
Yeah.
So it was a good time, just very mellow. Stayed in the house. We were going to go out, but we decided to just, kind of keep it a little more mellow and stay at home. So it was a good time. Saved some money, watched a good game, had some good food, lots of chips and no wings. I've usually always have wings. That's a big food item for the Super Bowl. We definitely had a lot of barbecue. Pulled pork, chicken, beans.
Of course, you got to have all.
Oh, yeah. No, I was definitely stuffed by the end of the game and ready for a post-game nap. What about you, man? What'd you do?
No, I just went up with a couple of my cousins. We had a fun time watching the game. Of course, with the whole ending, and we'll get to that soon, with the ending of the game and the way the game went. It was fun to be with a lot of people. Nobody had a rooting interest for either team, though, also. So it was cool to not have anybody kind of in your face about the game. While you were watching, and everyone was just hoping for a good game, and we ended up getting that. So, it was a good time. We also had pulled pork, which is funny. We had the same exact thing. Chips, no wings as well. So we had similar parties, even though I don't think we were very close to each other. I was up in LA watching the game. So
okay, yeah, I was South Orange County or Aliso Viejo.
There you go.
Yeah, just right at home.
So now let's get to the game. Obviously, the Patriots winning in remarkable fashion. Coming back, I believe the largest lead they were behind was 25. They ended the game on a 31-0 run. Kind of storybook stuff. I don't really know. It's hard to analyze the game because you don't really understand how the Patriots came back from that far. And they were down by 25 in the third quarter, too.
In the third quarter.
Yeah, in the third quarter. And then you don't really understand why the Falcons blew it so bad.
I said this immediately after the game was over, that number one, you have to give credit to the Patriots for not giving up and coming back. All the credit in the world. But to me, the Atlanta Falcons lost this game.
Oh, absolutely.
You cannot have a 25-point lead. I really don't care if it's in the first quarter or the third quarter of the Super Bowl. Okay, this isn't like week 2 or the preseason, of the NFL where it's like, okay, we can maybe afford to try some new things or give up some points. This is the Super Bowl, and you have a 25-point lead,
yeah, it's ridiculous.
and you cannot find a way to hold on to that. So, like I said, the Atlanta Falcons lost this game, and they deserve to feel crappy for a long time. Hopefully this will motivate them for next year, but they should be sinking their heads right now.
And it would have been a little different, I think, if New England would have blew the game, because I think a lot more people would have been not necessarily happy, but would have kind of enjoyed seeing the Patriots kind of fall apart.
True.
I felt a little bad for Atlanta because they weren't really expected to be there. They played a really good season. They were the underdogs coming in Vegas. They were the underdogs in a lot of people's minds because a lot of people don't follow the Falcons, so you're immediately going to think the Patriots are going to win the game. They were winning. They were kicking ass, and then they come and they blow it. So I'm looking at the box score right now. They were up 28-3 with halfway through the third quarter. So, and then the interesting thing was, even in the third quarter, so the Patriots get that touchdown, and they make it 28-9, and Gostowski misses the extra point.
Yeah.
So everything was going wrong for them, and still they ended up coming back. Of course, after that, they got another field goal. They made a two-possession game. They still had to get two two-point conversions. They got the touchdown to Amendola, and then they got the late touchdown to James White, and the two-point conversion to Amendola again. So they came back. Of course, they got the ball In overtime, went down and scored James White again. James White had a pretty good game, 3 touchdowns. I just realized that right now.
Should have been the MVP.
Yeah, I mean, I think almost he was given the MVP, or Brady was given the MVP, just because all that had gone on. They wanted to have Goodell give it to him, which is kind of stupid, but I can understand it.
I understand it, but it's like James White. I mean, really, he was the guy that, yes, Tom Brady obviously kept him in the game.
Yeah.
But without James White, they don't win.
Well, plus most of these passes were easy passes for Brady to White. White really had to do a lot of the work on the
Yes,
plays.
yeah, yak, yards after catch.
Yeah, exactly.
He had a lot of yak in this game.
I mean, I can remember. That's a funny thing. I can remember watching it. I think most of James White's touchdowns were like he barely even got in, too. Especially the last one. I mean, that was the ball barely crossed the line.
They were. He had to fight
really
for
had
everything.
to work hard. He broke a couple times. I agree with you. I didn't realize he had scored 3 touchdowns in the game.
Yes.
So he should have been MVP.
He should have. Just like 2 years ago when Tom Brady still won the MVP, but then he gave the Super Bowl truck to Malcolm Butler.
Oh, yeah.
I think Brady's going to do something similar, whether they give the MVP
definitely.
a truck or something. I think Brady's going to find a way to acknowledge White and say, hey, listen, man, you really do deserve this. It's not like I need it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Tom Brady's doing all right. So not to say that James White isn't, but no, he definitely deserved a little more of the recognition. I just wanted to really get into kind of breaking down the game and really just, it's kind of mind-boggling to me because I'm looking at the stats here, and in the first half, you would have thought that the Falcons were going to literally run away with the game, and it was going to be like a 40-point blowout. And then all of a sudden, the end of the game, and Tom Brady passes for 442 yards, and Matt Ryan only passes for 240. It's like, where did that come from? Both teams were actually even in rushing with 104 yards each, and that is where I want to start with Atlanta, is how in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter, when the Patriots have momentum on their side, for Atlanta, when they have the ball, how are they not running the ball?
I don't understand.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I kind of know. I was following, because I follow a lot of Cardinals beat reporters. They compared Shanahan's offense to the Cardinals. It's kind of a run and gun, and there's a lot of risk involved. And that's why the Cardinals kind of shoot themselves in the foot a lot during games, because they'll pass because they feel like if they're not risking, it's like kind of like I don't want to say like, it's kind of like a manly thing, like they have to just kind of keep trying to score and they don't want to be conservative at all. So
I understand that.
Yeah, and so that I saw a lot of comparisons to that where they were saying a normal coach would have ran the ball a lot, especially with those 2 running backs too. You have Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman. I agree, they should have totally been running. But I think with the way the offense was run, and I think the way Shanahan is, that was not going to happen because they wanted to just kind of keep their pedal on the gas a little bit. And to be honest, did they really think they were going to blow a 25-point lead? Probably not. So they thought they could risk it a little bit and pass a couple times, but
no. But there's also a thing called game management, and you also have to
do a good job.
You have to recognize, okay, we're playing against Tom Brady, who is over there on the other sideline, and he's starting to heat up. So what is the best way to counteract that? You keep him on the sideline by running the ball with your 2-headed monsters, and then mixing in a pass to Julio, who had only four targets in the game, which was the least amount of targets he's had since 2011.
Oh, but did
you're
really,
in the Super Bowl.
I know, but did he turn around those targets? To
Oh,
make
of course
some
he did.
Incredible catches.
I mean, unreal. Some of those throws, I don't know how Matt Ryan even attempted to throw that ball. He's in double coverage the entire game, and 3 out of the 4 catches that Julio had were just unbelievable. But the fact that he only had 4 targets, to me, is another issue. But going back to the running game, it's like, listen, it's not, even if you're only getting 2-3 yards a gain, it's not about getting the 10, 12 yards. It's about the clock. At that point, when you are up by that many points and you're in the Super Bowl and you're playing against Tom Brady, a 4-time Super Bowl winning champion, you want you want the clock moving at all the entire time. You do not want incompletions. You don't want the clock stopped. You don't want to go out of bounds. And Atlanta pretty much did all of that.
Yeah, no. I'm looking at the summary, the box score right now, and the Patriots scored every 5 to 6 minutes. Once they were down 28-3, so that shows that clock management. Atlanta's not keeping the ball, and I remember when they were playing Seattle, Atlanta kept the ball for, I believe it was like 10 minutes on their first drive.
Yes.
You're telling me you can't do that with passing too?
Yes.
That's it. So I agree with you. What you said at the top of the show, the Falcons blew this game.
They did.
They
did.
completely. I'm going to give credit to the Patriots because obviously it's very hard to get 2-point conversions too late in the game and to fight back from the missed extra point and all that stuff. Great for them. But I really do want to analyze this Falcons collapse because I don't understand it. They only turned the ball over once during the game. I'm looking at some more stats. They had only 17 first downs in the entire game, too. That's another factor.
To New England's 37.
37, yeah.
Unreal. And then time of possession, New England had the ball for 40 minutes. Atlanta only had the ball for 23.
Yeah.
It's just
ridiculous.
Listen, Dan Quinn and the entire players and coaching staff, this is going to haunt them for a long time. I understand most of those players and coaches were rookies, going into the Super Bowl, as far as not making an appearance. Actually, you know what? I take that back. Dan Quinn was with Seattle when they won, when they made
not
it
the
2
head
years ago.
coach, so a little different.
He was a defensive coordinator, but still, he's been there before. So actually, that's just he deserves more of the blame because he should know. It really is mind-boggling, like I said earlier. And but like I said, you do have to give credit to the Patriots because most people and most teams would have said, "Wow, guys, we're down by this much. Like, how are we going to come back?" I think the Patriots were able to do that because they kind of they instead of looking at it as a 25-point deficit, I feel that they went into it saying, "All right, guys, we obviously know we need to play better, but let's just take it one possession at a time, one game at a time." Because when you want to say, look at the whole big picture, oh, we're down 25 points, that's almost too much to handle. So you say, hey, let's get a touchdown. All right, on offense, and then when we come back out on defense, let's get a 3 and out.
Yeah,
right. You take it in chunks, and then that way you chip away, you keep going, and eventually, you get to a point where you're 1 score down, and those 2-point conversions were wow. I mean, talk about a game of inches. The Danny Amendola
barely got in.
That was, oh my gosh, just an unbelievable comeback.
Yeah, no, I agree. And so, but no, I agree with you. You chip away. And I feel like Belichick probably told the team after that when Atlanta made it 28-3, hey, we realistically have to score on 4 of the next 5 possessions. So on defense, we just have to make a stop every single time. That's what they did. I'm going to say this was the biggest sequence in the game, and I think you'll agree with me on this. When Atlanta had the ball, and I can't remember how they got down the field. I think they had the ball with like 6 minutes to go. I'm totally coming off this from the top of my head. They had the ball 6 minutes ago, something like that. And they were up by 8. And they had the ball on like the 30-yard line. New England's 30. That is field goal range.
Yes.
Matt Bryant could easily make a field goal from that range. And then they get sacked. Matt Ryan gets sacked. And, they're still in field goal range. Probably about the 37, 38. That's still a 50-something yard field goal. You can make that, or you can punt it, put him down at the 1 or something like that. Then what happens? They get a first down, right? Oh, no, holding. 10 more yards back. Not in field goal range. Now they have to punt it, and they give it to, I don't remember who returned it, but they give it to him on like the 10 instead. That ended up being the final drive in which James White scored the touchdown with 57 seconds to go.
Yeah. I completely.
So that was where, when I was watching it, I said, there's the turning point right there. The Patriots have a chance now.
Game management. Actually, I actually want to disagree with you as far as the turning point. I really think the turning point was when Dante Hightower strip sacked Matt Ryan.
Yeah, true.
I feel that although the Patriots were down, I think it was 28-9 at that point, so the Patriots were obviously down by more than they were when you just described your play.
Uh-huh.
But that strip sack, I think, kind of gave the Patriots some juice. It was like, all right, we're coming out in the third quarter. We're down by a lot, but we need a spark. We need a big play. It doesn't matter who it is, interception, touchdown, big play. It doesn't matter what it is. We need some type of spark. And that was really it right there. It was interesting. I was listening to one of the post-game conferences, and I get offensive coordinator Kyle Shanahan and Devontae Freeman were in disagreement with why that sack occurred. If you go back to the play, Devontae Freeman was on the right side of the offensive line. He was lined up next to the right tackle. And once Matt Ryan hiked it, Devontae Freeman, it didn't look like he was set or he was ready for the ball to be hiked.
Ooh.
And so once the ball was hiked, Dante Hightower came screaming off the edge, and he just whipped right past Devontae Freeman, who was way too late to try to block him. Couldn't even get a chip on him. And Dante Hightower pretty much had a free run at Matt Ryan. And once Matt Ryan attempted to throw, Hightower, stripped his arm and got the strip sack. So my point being, after the game, Devontae Freeman was asked, "Hey, whose responsibility is that? Was that your job to pick up that free blitzer?" And apparently, there's a disagreement. Kyle Shanahan thinks that it was Freeman's fault. Freeman, on the other hand, is saying, it was wrong protection. It was someone else's fault. So for me, that was the play, the turning point when the Patriots are like, okay, we're obviously down. We're down by 19, but listen, a field goal, 2 touchdowns, it's not out of the picture because we have Mr. Tom Brady. And then obviously they came back.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting because obviously if the blocking scheme was all messed up on the play, you're going to have a guy probably come in free. Nothing you could do if you're Matt Ryan on that play. Arm gets hit, can't do much about it. It's hard. I mean, I've had my arm hit when I'm trying to throw anything, and it's impossible to get that thing down to not fumble it.
Yes.
And putting air quotes up. But Devontae Freeman will never win an argument because Kyle Shanahan skipped on to San Francisco right after the game.
He did. He
right on to the 49ers.
He is out of there. And listen, if I were him, at least he now gets to keep his mind focused and trying to rebuild this 49ers team. For the rest of the Falcons, they get to go sit on their couch for the entire offseason and think about this loss that they just gave up.
I know. That is it's interesting. You know who I felt bad for in this game? Dwight Freeney.
Yes.
The guy.
That's true.
I believe he has a Super Bowl with the Colts. The one year they won it with. He was with that franchise for a long time. Last year he was with the Cardinals. Cardinals got very close to the Super Bowl. Thought he might retire. Came back to Atlanta. Atlanta gets to the Super Bowl. They're up by 25, and they just couldn't get it done. Now I also thought that. And we talk about the time of possession. Do you think Atlanta's young defense got tired too?
Oh, of course they did. Of course they did. I mean, honestly, in the second half, I think Atlanta only had the ball like less than 5 times in the entire second half.
That's ridiculous.
Brady was able to, and this goes back to last week's show when we were talking about predictions and who we think was going to win and why. And even though I had picked Atlanta to win, I have said all along that the Patriots offense is not built around big plays necessarily because they don't have a Julio Jones. They don't have a big time running back or a guy that can just make a huge play. Obviously Gronkowski was out. He was their biggest threat. So what do you do then? You kind of dip and dunk. You get,
and that's their whole offense too.
Pass for 5 yards, pass for 7 yards, pass for 12 yards, hand it off to Garrett Blount, hand it off to James White, pass for 7 yards. That's kind of their MO. And they create these long drives that eventually will wear down a defense. And that's exactly what they did in the second half to the Atlanta Falcons. It was one of those things that even in the first half, why am I blanking on the cornerback's name that intercepted Tom Brady and took it back for a touchdown?
I can't remember too. I can't remember either.
I don't know why I'm blanking on his name.
Wasn't Desmond Trufant?
No, it was not Desmond Trufant. It will come to me.
We'll
I'm sorry.
Robert
Alford. Robert
Alford.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know why it took me so long to think of that. Yeah, when Robert Alford had that interception return for a touchdown, guess what? That Atlanta defense had to come right back on the field.
No, I know.
So it's great, obviously, to have those 7 points, but then they don't get that rest. They don't get Atlanta's offense coming on the field for at least 3 plays to give the Atlanta defense a little bit of a break. So, you could totally tell in the end of the third and especially the entire fourth quarter and overtime, Atlanta's defense was just worn out, and Tom Brady was in a groove. He was feeling it. An interesting point that I wanted to bring up was in one of the post and press conferences after the game. I'm not sure if it was Tom Brady who was asked this question or Bill Belichick, but they had figured out that Robert Alford, who was now Atlanta's number 1 cornerback because Marcus Trufant has been out for at least half the season, he was in man pretty much the entire game.
Yeah.
So Tom Brady knew that if Alfred was traveling with either Amendola or one of the other receivers, if he traveled and went from side to side, left corner to right corner, he knew that Atlanta's defense was in man. If Alfred stayed on one side, then he knew that they were in zone.
Oh,
and so he was able to.
And that's typical Brady. So he picked apart the defense.
Yes, he was able to figure it out.
And with a tired defense, he's gonna. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, and it's funny too. You wonder if they kind of because I assume Atlanta runs a little bit of what the Seahawks ran.
Oh, defensively?
Yeah, defensively
yes,
because
they do.
of what because Dan Quinn's their coach.
Big time.
So you wonder if Brady maybe knew that going in, had already faced him in the Super Bowl, stuff like that, where it just maybe the mind of Belichick and Brady also got him late in that game.
I guarantee you that Tom Brady, in his study and preparation for the Super Bowl, went back and looked at the game from earlier this year when the Patriots played Seattle, and then also 2 years ago in that Super Bowl, especially because Dan Quinn was the defensive coordinator for the Seahawks during that Super Bowl. So I guarantee you Brady went back to those game tapes specifically and said, okay, we haven't played the Falcons this year, but this is probably some of the defense that they're going to run. And Atlanta, what they like to do is rush just 4 guys. They're not a big blitzing team. They like to play, whether it's man or zone, they want to just rush 4, drop 7 guys into coverage, and hope that their pass rushers can get home.
Yeah.
So occasionally you would see a blitz, but for the most part, if that front 4, if those defensive linemen aren't getting to the quarterback, listen, I don't care if you're Deion Sanders, Champ Bailey, the best cornerback in NFL history, you can only cover receivers for so long.
Yeah, I agree.
Before eventually they're going to get open.
That's why Aaron Rodgers is so difficult to
exactly
defend.
Because he extends plays, and even though Tom Brady didn't have to do a whole lot of moving outside of the pocket, whether it was the defensive line or Atlanta's secondary, they got tired after a while, and it just that took a huge toll on them. And obviously, once Brady was able to figure out, okay, I'm pretty sure I know when they're in man and when they're strictly in zone. That's like playing with house money right there.
Agree.
Yeah, it was so very, very a good job by Brady, obviously, and you know what? You just have to give credit to Brady and Bill Belichick for their second half adjustments. Yeah, that's what they're known for.
Totally agree. Yeah, we all know that I believe they come into every single game with 2 game plans, 1 for each half. So obviously, I don't know if that there was necessarily a huge game plan when you're down by 25 to come back. You kind of just got to deal with it and just try to get down the field and score.
I believe so.
But more than likely, they actually probably had an idea of what to do down 25. They probably had practiced that in practice because Bill Belichick, Tom Brady proved themselves after this game that they are possibly the best coaching quarterback duo of all time. So
I don't even think it's a possibly. I think that
you
they
think
are.
For sure?
Oh, I think they are.
5 Super Bowls for Brady, 4 Super Bowl MVPs. Obviously, we said that 2 of them might have been a little iffy, but still 4 Super Bowl MVPs. Belichick, I believe, has more, he has more, right? Because he won one with someone else in the past.
I think Belichick might have won one as
I think he
coordinator.
Has 6. Well, anyways, he has 5 still.
He has 5 with the Patriots.
So. No, great game. One other thing I wanted to bring up before we go to break, and we kind of talk about the stuff that's happened since the Super Bowl. But I wanted the Edelman catch late in the game, the one that bounced, and I still have no idea how the ball didn't hit the ground.
No idea. Yeah. He came out and said that was about 70% luck.
Yeah.
Which is very true. It's almost probably 100% luck. Really, the Patriots have been on the other end of some of those catches. When they played the Giants and their first Super Bowl matchup, and David Tyree had that amazing catch on his helmet.
Oh yeah.
And then 2 years ago, when Curse of the Seattle Seahawks, he had that catch where the ball literally he kicked the ball up and then it just landed right in his lap.
Ridiculous.
The Patriots were like, all right, it's our turn to get one, and they did, but just unbelievable. Robert Alford again was involved in that play. He tipped the ball up, but as he tipped the ball, he slipped and he fell. So if he would have actually been able to stay on his feet, I think he could have had an interception, or at the worst case for the Falcons, the ball would have hit the ground way before Edelman had a chance to get it. But he tips it up, and then he falls down. There's Edelman that's trying to go for the ball, and then you have two other Falcon defenders that are converging on Edelman. All three of them just collide at the same time, and somehow, literally inches, he catches the ball and then doesn't have a grip on it and has to re-catch the ball again right before it hits the ground. Just unbelievable. You can't put into words. I guarantee if they tried that 100 times, that ball, it would be incomplete every time.
It's like that guy. You remember the catch like 10 or 15 years ago, the guy who put it like through his legs a bunch of times and put it behind his back?
Yeah.
It was like that. There was like 3 different things that he had to do on the play, and he still made the catch.
What I want to know on that play is why would Brady even throw that ball? Because if you actually go back and
it's a horrible throw.
And study the play,
there's no reason to throw it into that area.
Julian Edelman is not a tall receiver. I don't believe he's even 6 foot. So you have Robert Alford, the Atlanta cornerback, playing underneath Edelman, and then you have the 2 safeties over the top. So essentially, he's almost being triple covered, and Brady's going to throw that ball. That to me is that could have very easily been intercepted.
Yeah.
Just but hey, he got bailed out, and congratulations.
There you go. No. On the other side of this next break, we're going to take a break. That was a long first segment. Sure.
It was. Well, hey, Super Bowl. It deserves a long segment.
It deserves the way the game went, too. It definitely deserves. When we come back after this break, we'll talk more about what's happened since the Super Bowl with both teams, and especially about Kyle Shanahan going to the 49ers. We will be right back.
What a wonderful football game tonight. That's what NFL football is all about.
OC Rock Radio. This is the live edition of the Cover 2 podcast. Jared, what was your take on the halftime show for the Super Bowl? Lady Gaga?
Did she really jump from the roof?
I don't know, man.
It looked like it. I mean, at least from sitting on the couch.
She did a little Shawn Michaels down to the ring, too.
Yeah, she
down
did,
to
man.
Down to the stage.
She was amazing. I don't know if I would rank it as the best halftime performance of any Super Bowl, but enough, so honestly, it was fantastic. She did a great job. The ratings came out after the Super Bowl game ended, and during the game, there was around 111 million viewers. I'm sure in the fourth quarter and in overtime when the Patriots are making their comeback, that viewership spiked. But for the halftime performance, there was 117 million viewers. So I guess more people were interested in Lady Gaga.
6 million viewers.
Yeah, than the actual Super Bowl.
It's crazy. No. It's crazy how people would know when to tune into the halftime show too.
I mean, with social media and with everyone, I'm sure people are kind of
watch the game. Just watch the whole freaking game. It's an American thing, and what I was thinking about too. So you have 111 million people watching the game, right? And most people aren't watching it by themselves. If you think about there is 300 to 400 million people likely watching this game
easily,
which is crazy to think about that amount of humanity is watching and interacting with one thing.
Listen, I've said this. It might as well. They need to just make it like a national holiday.
Yeah, give us that Monday off.
Yeah, give everyone that Monday off. I'm telling you, from whether your team is actually in the Super Bowl. Or you just had too many drinks that day. It's
Which was
Monday.
What I did.
Yes, Monday can sometimes be rough to get up. All right, we need to turn it into a national holiday, just Super Bowl day. All right, and give us that Monday off.
Yeah,
let us come back Tuesday rejuvenated.
If Christopher Columbus has a day, the Super Bowl should have a day. I'm just saying.
Okay, all right, let's move on, Nick. I don't know about
that. So another interesting thing that happened. That didn't happen during the game was right after that. This big storyline with Roger Goodell and Tom Brady and Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick and all that Deflategate stuff came to a head when Goodell had to give the trophy to Brady and Kraft. He got absolutely booed out of the building by those Patriots fans. It was music to my ears because I don't like Goodell.
I loved it.
Yeah, I loved it too. It was loud. It was all those drunk Patriots fans in the stadium just finally getting their revenge on him. The whole situation was kind of awkward, though. Did you see all the weird handshakes he had with Brady after the game, too?
Oh, Before they even got the podium and everything ready, Goodell went up to Brady, who had his back to to Goodell because Brady was speaking with someone else, and Goodell kind of tapped him on his arm. Brady turned around.
Hey, good game, man.
Yeah. They gave a little handshake, and he said something like that was amazing, or but it was very awkward. There was no real
Brady didn't care.
There was no real love going on there. That was all publicity, and hey, let's try to be cordial. But no, obviously you could tell that both guys just didn't really want to interact with each other. And if I'm Brady, I would feel the same way. I would, I would have walked up there with a smile on my face and said, "Give me my trophy, please."
Thank you, Roger.
Exactly. Thank you. Goodbye. Have you seen Tom Brady's newest commercial?
Very interesting.
Yes.
Roger that.
Just a nice little jab at Mr. Goodell, Mr. $49 million a year man.
I'd take some balls, man, to film a commercial talking about your fifth ring and talking about all that stuff when, especially, it was so fitting. And it was like it's such a story written during the game. You had that happen before the trophy was presented, right? I believe that commercial. Wasn't sure because I saw the commercial later on social media. So
okay,
I don't know.
I'm not exactly sure,
Okay.
But I believe so.
But you have the big comeback. They come back from they score 31 straight points, and then you have a commercial of Brady saying, "Oh, here's my fifth ring." Roger that. Very interesting. Robert Kraft obviously took shots at him in his speech after the game.
He did.
I don't think Belichick cares. He's not going to say anything about it.
No.
But I even saw, was it the next day or maybe right after the game, he gave Brady the MVP trophy or something like that, and they had another awkward handshake.
Yes, they were at like a press conference.
Yeah.
Standing up at another podium, and like I said, it's something that they both have to do, and it's an obligation. And they do it. They shake hands, they smile for the camera, and then they get to go their separate ways.
Yeah. And Goodell still makes like $54 million.
Good, just ridiculous. Let's not even get into that because we can have a whole segment on that.
We have a whole show on that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then moving on, the next couple days, some very interesting coaching changes between the two teams. Really, mostly Atlanta, to be honest.
Mostly Atlanta.
Yeah. You had Shanahan leave. We already talked about it. He went to the 49ers. We talked even a little bit about Shanahan going to the 49ers last week, so I don't think we need to jump into that too much.
It was a foregone conclusion.
It was just kind of funny how with the whole way the game ended and the season ended, you maybe thought that Shanahan might have maybe thought about staying and trying to get revenge and stuff like that, but no, immediately post-game press conference, "Oh yeah, I'm going to San Francisco. I already accepted the job." So
yeah.
And they're not allowed to accept the job until the final game of their season, so he wasn't allowed to, but he had probably decided 2 or 3 weeks
Oh, of
ago.
course.
He's going to San Francisco. He'll have to deal with that. Those crappy players over in San Francisco because there's no talent over there, no quarterback.
Shots fired.
Yeah, no.
That's an Arizona Cardinals fan speaking for you right there.
There's no way. And even a little bit of a Rams fan, there's no way I'm giving the 49ers credit for that roster. So, have fun, Kyle.
Oh, good luck.
And then you just brought up in the break that he's not going to hire an offensive coordinator.
No, which to me is very surprising. It's one thing to be, I don't know, Bill Belichick and have the experience of a head coach, but to, and obviously Kyle Shanahan's dad was a head coach in the NFL for a long time, mostly with the Denver Broncos. That's really where I remember him. Mm-hmm. But to be a rookie head coach, and we all understand that you're an offensive guru, but to not hire an offensive coordinator to take a little bit of pressure off of you, to me, doesn't make sense because, listen, when you're just the offensive coordinator, that's all you have to worry about is offense.
Yeah.
You have meetings with your quarterbacks, your receivers, your running backs, your O-line. That's it. You don't have to worry about the defense. You don't have to worry about special teams. You don't have to worry about coming up with practice plans for the entire team. Now you have all of that on your plate, and you're not going to hire another coordinator to come in to help you. This isn't, you know what I mean? Like you can't be too prideful or say, "Oh, I don't want to give up my responsibilities." Listen, right now, at least in my sense, you're hurting the team because you're saying I can do all this work. The 49ers need a lot of help, okay? So it seems like the right move to bring someone else in, bring the as much knowledge as you can to surround yourself with the best knowledge, football knowledge, that can help turn the 49ers program around. So we'll see. I believe there's only one other organization in the NFL the Cleveland Browns, who do not have an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, so
and we've seen how that goes.
The Cleveland Browns and the San Francisco 49ers don't have offensive coordinators.
And they're both 1-2 in the NFL draft this year.
How many wins combined this year?
That would be
Three.
Three, maybe 4 max.
And the 49ers beat the Rams twice. So it's really like one win, Cleveland against San Diego. I just realized the 2 LA teams were the ones that lost to the Rams and 49ers this year.
Wow.
Fantastic. Just fantastic LA football.
Good job, LA.
Just good job.
Go LA.
Speaking of LA football, Jared, who is the I feel like that was a do you care question the way I asked that.
That was.
Who is the offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons now?
For the Atlanta Falcons?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be former Alabama offensive coordinator for one game.
Also former USC head coach.
Yes.
Steve Sarkisian.
Sark. He gets one game with Alabama in the national championship game as the full-time offensive coordinator, and then he bolts back to the NFL.
Boom. Wait, when was he with the NFL before?
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that he was a quarterbacks coach.
I think you're right. Yeah.
With the Oakland Raiders in 2004, if I'm not mistaken, after his original stint with USC. Actually,
that wasn't Jamarcus Russell, right?
I don't believe so. I hope not.
Yeah.
That would be pretty bad. But Lane Kiffin and Sark were both on were on Pete Carroll's staff when USC had their run with Reggie Bush, Matt
That makes sense
Leinart.
because Kiffin went to Oakland. Too.
Yes, so I believe that. So he was a quarterbacks coach. But other than that, his football coaching experience has all been at the collegiate level. So this is an interesting hire for Atlanta. Nick, what do you think?
There's not much to think about because he had one game with Alabama. I don't really know what offense he runs, so it should be interesting. I just would have thought they could have hired somebody else,
I can tell you what kind of offense he runs. He runs almost the same offense that Lane Kiffin does, and that is the reason.
FAU, Florida Atlantic.
And that is the reason why Sark is no longer with Alabama, because apparently after the national championship game, Nick Saban and Sark kind of got into not a scuffle, but they got into a bit of an argument. An argument, yeah, somewhat,
Yeah.
because Nick Saban did not want the same type of offense that Lane Kiffin had been running, and Sark said, well, this is what I do.
Yeah, so why did you hire him then, Saban?
So apparently last Wednesday, right before National Signing Day, the two came to an agreement that they were going to part ways, and obviously now Sark is in the NFL and he's getting another chance. So it really just shows to me how much of a recycling process that these coaches go through. Even when you have Sark, who obviously a few years ago was the USC's head coach and living at the top and living the dream, and then he gets
crazy.
fired for having alcohol issues, and he goes from the top of the mountain to rock bottom. But it just shows that if you can bring yourself back, you're going to get another opportunity, and it's just a recycle process. That's how it goes.
And then also the defensive coordinator for Atlanta is leaving.
Yes,
as well.
he is.
So,
along with their defensive line coach.
Man, a lot of turnover with Atlanta that quickly.
Very much so.
And what's interesting is you'd think with a team that just had such a bad loss too, that we expect them to kind of come out and probably have a good record next year and really be in that hunt. I don't know if you have two brand new coordinators, if you could really do that,
I think they can because, listen, at the end of the day, you have to have talented players who can execute the game plan. So, for Atlanta, you still have Matt Ryan, you still have Julio Jones, and you still have the two-headed monster, Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman. So as long as those guys are still playing and producing at a high level, not to say that it doesn't matter, you can throw in any Joe Schmo, but I think Sark is going to find ways to, keep the offense intact. And defensively, Dan Quinn is still the mastermind of the defense. So whoever he brings in, that defensive coordinator is going to be, under the command of Dan Quinn, and he's going to keep that same type of Seattle defense intact. So yes, there's going to be some terminology change, and it's going to take some time to adjust. But guess what? That's why you have an offseason. That's why you have OTAs. That's why you have mini camps. and time for these players and coaches to gel. But yeah, I think Atlanta's they're going to be fine, and especially with the division that they're in. Tampa Bay is a little bit on the rise, but Carolina, obviously,
we don't really know.
We
what
saw
to
last year.
expect,
We don't know what to expect, and the Saints, until the Saints get a defense, to me, they're going to have to score 50 points a game to win, and they're not a threat. So yeah, Atlanta, I think is going to be just fine.
Yeah, the Falcons are considering their secondary coach Marquand Manuel as their defensive coordinator. So probably
Interesting.
Don't know much.
Probably bring and that's also smart too. Bring someone within. The players already have a relationship with him, and obviously Dan Quinn already has a relationship with him. So you bring him in, and I think it's easier to promote someone to defensive coordinator and then hire another secondary coach. Easier to hire a secondary coach than it is to hire a coordinator.
Well, and like you said, Dan Quinn really is the defensive coordinator.
He
for
is.
the team.
Yes, that's
so
his
you're getting
handprints
a
are
guy,
all over that.
and then so maybe you see with hiring the secondary coach, you see Dan Quinn kind of coach up the front seven, and you have Marquand Manuel kind of coach up the secondary, and you have like that two-headed monster
True.
defense.
Great coaches are not just successful, because they have, they're masterminds of a specific offense or defense. It's because of the people that they put around them.
True.
So when you have other, great coaches who know how to teach the game and know how to get the most out of their players, that's really when you become successful. Bill Belichick.
Yeah. How many coaches?
Greg Popovich, Nick Saban, the list goes on and on. When you surround yourself with other people who are, at the level that you are and everyone's on the same page, you're going to have success.
No, I agree. And but it should be interesting to see how Atlanta does. New England hasn't made much changes. And I don't know why you would, because you just won the Super Bowl.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. Moving on to the last topic of this segment is probably a topic we've wanted to talk about the whole time. The parade.
Yay.
And Gronk shenanigans and Brady shenanigans and all that. Did you see the parade at all? Did you see what kind of happened?
I got to watch a little bit. It looked a little cold, so I was happy I was not there, and I was sitting in my nice heated house. But yes, I did see Gronk with his shirt off. Fans were throwing beers at him, and he was opening them up, with his teeth and just chugging them back. He was having a grand old time. I think the best part about that parade for me was hearing Bill Belichick when he took the mic, and it was typical Bill Belichick fashion. He started a chant that said "No days off."
Oh, I love it.
No days off. No days off. That is as Bill Belichick as you can get. I mean, the guy literally in the press conference the day after the Super Bowl on Monday. I think a reporter asked him, so what are your plans now? What are you going to do? And he said, it's fantastic that we won the Super Bowl, and I'm really happy. But to be quite honest, we are 5 weeks behind at the start of this 2017 season than most other teams. Because if you think about it, teams that didn't make the playoffs or teams that got eliminated in the playoffs, they've already started their preparations for the draft and getting ready for next year. Well, the Patriots have pretty much been focused just on the Super Bowl. So, Bill Belichick is already thinking, we're 5 weeks ahead. We got to catch up already. So no days off.
Okay, so, and you remember when Saban did that after, I believe it was like the 2012 national championship when they beat Notre Dame, and he said, I believe it was during the on the field interview with like Aaron Andrews, he said, yeah, we're going to take this win and all this blah, blah, blah. But then in 2 days, we're going to get back to it and have meetings about recruiting.
Oh, yeah. You have to.
And apparently in him, Saban and Belichick are like best friends.
Oh, so. They are. Because they coached together in Cleveland, if I'm not mistaken. But no, I mean, especially in college, you have to, because National Signing Day is so close to the end of the college football season that, if your team is in the college football playoffs and then they make it to the championship game, not to say that you've lost time, but yeah, all these other teams, their head coaches are going out recruiting, and Nick Saban and Dabo Swinney, they've had to keep preparing their team or their own players. So it's something to where you have to have a good recruiting staff underneath you. But no, listen, in today's world of sports, obviously football, basketball, it doesn't really matter what the sport is. There really isn't an off season especially when
Oh,
you're talking about
I
the
know.
coaches. Maybe the players get, a month off or they take some time off to get, rest their bodies and heal up. But for the coaches, there is no offseason. They're always watching film, looking to bring on better talent, recruiting. There's always ways that, coaches want to get better. So, yeah, there is no more of this, really offseason in a sense. They're always doing something. And, that's why Bill Belichick and Nick Saban are multiple
Exactly.
champions.
No, and they had the same mindset, and it's hard for us to think about because I know I'd be partying for like 2 weeks straight. I'd be on the
Nick
roof.
would be on some island.
I'd be on the roof of a Las Vegas hotel
Yeah.
somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Just something crazy.
Going crazy. That's like probably what Gronk and some. But listen, you know what?
yeah,
As
I
an
know.
athlete and as a player, you deserve some downtime. You do, not to say that coaches don't, but the players are the ones that are actually on the field, grinding, putting their bodies on the line and putting all that effort in. For the coaches, yes, you're putting the mental effort in, but it's a little easier on your body. You know what I mean? You're not putting that wear and tear on. So it's easier for those coaches to get up early every morning, even in the off season, and go into the office. To whereas the players, you almost need that downtime to just get away from whatever sport you're in, rejuvenate your body, miss the game for a little bit. Get that passion, get that fire.
Yeah.
Because for everyone asked Tom Brady, what's the motivation to come back? You're a 5-time Super Bowl champion, multiple MVP award winner, multiple Pro Bowl winner. It's like, what's the motivation to keep coming back? And he wants to be the all-time greatest.
Yeah.
That's his motivation.
I think he already is. But
Yeah, I agree. I think he is, with this Super Bowl win, I think he just cemented himself as the all-time greatest NFL quarterback.
I was saying the day before the game, I thought if they won, he'd retire. Yeah, I still think he might.
Oh, no way. Now, I don't know if you read this or not, but he was speaking with his wife, and Giselle apparently said, honey,
this.
are you going to
I did,
retire?
yeah.
And he said, sorry, babe, no way. I guess he thinks he can play another 3 to 5 years.
I think he could too.
Now, 5 years.
Imagine if he wins like 2 more Super Bowls.
Oh,
too.
are you kidding? Like, that's not even. Listen, I'm going to say this right now. For the rest of the AFC East, the Bills, the Dolphins, and the Jets, one of y'all teams need to get better.
Well, the Dolphins are
and
pretty
really
good.
contend. Listen, the Dolphins made the playoffs this year, but they got whooped by the Steelers, okay? So the Dolphins have a good defense. Offensively, they need to get a lot better. I don't even want to go into that right now. What I'm saying is one of these other teams in the AFC East need to really step up and challenge the Patriots, because if not, it's almost like a cakewalk. I'm sorry to say it,
No,
but
it is.
those other 3 teams have not challenged the Patriots at all, and it's really helped the Patriots just kind of ease their way into the playoffs every single year.
Yeah, no, the division sucks. And they've been that division has been one of the reasons that the Patriots have been so successful as well, and they get such a high seed. And at least they take advantage of it every year. They're not going 10-6 and win the division, like some other teams. So, great Super Bowl. That kind of finishes off our whole Super Bowl talk. We'll finish off the show in the last segment with just talk about the great championship games. But after this break, we will have an edition of Do You Care? With no NFL stuff. It will be kind of our way of talking about what's happened with other sports. So after this quick break, another edition of Do You Care?
Can you imagine this team without Kevin Love, LeBron?
Nope.
There was a report in the New York Post today.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it and heard about it. It's trash. And the guy who wrote it is trash, too, for writing that, especially during a game like that.
Superstars can change everything for a team. The same thing can happen for the Lakers. With a superstar, that superstar will make everybody better.
So when do you go get the superstar?
Well, I think that, it's hard to get a superstar in today's basketball with the cap and everything. But, you look for free agency or you look for a trade.
OC Rock Radio, you are listening to the Cover 2 podcast live from the OC Rock Radio studio at Saddleback College. I'm Nick Nenad.
I'm Jared Smith.
And we are back, and it is time for our favorite game on this show. Do you care? I just screwed up because you were supposed to come back from break. I just totally jumped in.
Nick's feeling a little antsy today.
Yeah.
He wanted to get involved and get that voice out there. It's all good,
Unbelievable.
man. It's okay. Listen. It's okay. We will come back stronger than ever, my man.
We will, just like
Yes.
the Atlanta Falcons next year. Yeah.
Hopefully.
There you
I don't
go.
know. Those coordinators are gone. We'll
All right,
see.
So you You got to ask me the first question now.
I
Is that how
do.
you-
I will.
obviously
I
were
will. I
supposed
will
to do
take
it.
over after you rudely interrupted. But it's okay. I will forgive you. We're still friends. We're doing our great segment. I'm happy. Let's get it started.
Awesome.
Nick, do you care that LaMelo Ball, younger brother of UCLA's Alonzo Ball, scored 92 points?
I do care because it's incredible. The way they run their offense, these guys are able to score a lot of points. I believe the other brother, LiAngelo, another one of Ball's brothers, he's a senior. LaMelo's a sophomore too, but I'll get into that in a second. He scored 60, 70, 50 points in a couple games. The way they run their offense, it's Chino Hills High School. The way they run their offense is shoot as many threes and get down the court as fast as you can. A rapid fire offense is even higher tempo than Mike D'Antoni's. I think he had that 7-second rule or something like that.
Okay.
They have like freaking 4-second rule. Lots of threes. So the players are able to score a lot of points. LaMelo Ball with 92 is just unreal. I think they scored 146 in the high school game last night.
Wow.
He scored 41 points in the fourth quarter, and there's only 8 minutes in the high school fourth quarter. And he only made 7 threes. And he had 60 points in twos.
Wow.
So, amazing.
Wow.
Great job, LaMelo. Can't wait to see him all at UCLA. I know you're probably not as much happy about that because you're a USC guy.
Yeah,
UCLA. All the Ball brothers are going to UCLA.
UCLA is going to be stacked. And apparently, LaMelo, who is the youngest of the three brothers, he's supposed to be the best. Or he's supposed to have the highest ceiling, I think supposedly.
I think we'll see if the fame gets to him because he's been pretty popular since last year as a freshman.
True.
So, very interesting. But 92 points, it's unprecedented. I believe it's the second highest amount of points ever scored in a California high school game.
Wow.
So, amazing. Jared, and this is who should draft him in 2 years. Jared, do you care that Magic Johnson's back with the Lakers?
Yes, I definitely care about this. Very, very excited to hear that Magic Johnson was back with the Lakers. And supposedly, coming from Magic Johnson himself, he said he is just there to help. He doesn't want to step on anyone's toes. He just wants to be there for support. If people have questions, I think that's a bunch of smoke.
Whose toes should he step on?
Step all over Jim Buss. Just kick him out. Kick him out right away. Kick him out right away. No, really what I think and what I'm hoping is the start of a transition is that Magic Johnson will come in and really assumingly have Jeannie Buss eventually take over as full control owner and let Jim Buss step down from his position. He can still be involved with the team, but really Jeannie Buss needs to be the final say of this team and really have Magic Johnson involved. Magic Johnson's a 5-time world champion. He knows what he's talking about. He has kind of the repertoire and the star power to bring in other star players, which the Lakers have unfortunately not been able to do for the past few seasons. And that's one of the things Magic Johnson talked about was, hey, listen, guys, yeah, you guys can get the top draft picks, all you want, but this game is about superstars. And right now, there aren't any superstars, a.k.a. Kevin Durant, a.k.a. LeBron James, that want to come and play for the Lakers right now. Why is that? I, really think it's because of Jim Buss. So, no, I think it's a great hire. I think it's going to attract more attention to the Lakers. And eventually, hopefully, turn this franchise around and get it back to the winning ways that we all know and love. At least I know and love. Nick, do you care that MLB, Major League Baseball pitchers and catchers report to spring training next week?
I'm very excited because now you have that down since the Super Bowl's over. College football ended a couple weeks ago. You have that downtime where there's not a lot going on. You're going to have the NBA All-Star Game coming up next weekend, not this weekend, but next weekend. I believe it's the 18th. That's always a fun event, especially with Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, all that stuff. But then after that, it's really just basketball and hockey, just regular season games, which can get old really quickly. So I'm happy to see baseball coming back. Should be a good season. I'm excited. I'm a baseball guy, so we'll surely have a baseball prediction show coming up soon. And I'm excited. Baseball's coming back. New sports are starting. Jared, do you care that LeBron James once again shut down Carmelo Love trade offers again?
I don't care because, once again, I think this is also smoke. Listen, I think that LeBron and Kevin Love have grown to have a better relationship maybe than when Kevin Love first joined the Cavaliers. And so LeBron isn't going to say anything to maybe upset that, at least in the media spotlight. Potentially in the locker room, they might have words or something like that. So, yeah, no, I don't think LeBron's going to say anything to the media or make anything public. But behind closed doors, LeBron wants Melo on his team. And I think he would, prefer that Kevin Love stay. But I'm pretty sure any day of the week, LeBron is going to, say, sorry, Kevin, you got to go. We're bringing in Melo. I think we have a better chance to win with Melo. So that's really what I think is going to happen. Do I think the trade is actually going to happen? I don't. I actually see a situation where Melo goes to the Clippers. I think that makes a little more sense because I think the Clippers could use more of a small forward. Cavaliers, LeBron, he plays small forward, power forward. So that would be an interesting matchup. But, it's all smoke. LeBron's not going to say anything to kind of hurt his relationship with Kevin Love. Nick, do you care that the Boston Bruins coach, Claude Julien, was fired?
I don't care, but he was one of the longer tenured coaches in the NHL. Boston was pretty good 4 or 5 years ago, and they've kind of been on a downturn ever since a lot of their stars left, and they haven't been able to get a lot of young, good players. So it's always tough to see a long mainstay coach leave. I don't really care because I'm not a Boston Bruins fan, but it's interesting that they fire him in the same week the Patriots win the Super Bowl. Maybe think about that a little bit next time, but. So Claude, he'll get a job in the NHL again, but interesting to see how Boston does the rest of the season, having their mainstay coach leave. Jared, speaking of Boston, do you care that Paul Pierce made a 3-pointer in Boston?
Not at all. Not at all. If anyone knows me, I'm not a Paul Pierce fan at all. Going back to when he pretty much collapsed on the floor. I believe it was the 2009 NBA Finals against the Lakers. He collapsed like he just died. Had to be carried off of the floor and then put into a wheelchair into the locker room. And then he miraculously, 5 minutes later, runs back out like he's Hercules and helps Boston beat the Lakers. Listen, everyone knows Paul Pierce as a Celtic. He's played the last few years with the Clippers because he felt that the Clippers were a better organization to win a championship, and he just wanted to be one of the pieces. Mm-hmm. But we all know Paul Pierce and his great basketball play being with the Celtics, and especially he played. Doc Rivers was his coach with the Celtics as well, so they have a long history. And Doc wanted to get him in the game, and the Celtics fans gave him a standing ovation, and it was all really nice and sweet. Bottom line is the Celtics still won the game. I'm still not a fan of Paul Pierce. He had a good moment. It's probably his highlight of the year because Clippers aren't going to win the NBA championship. So, yeah.
Even if they get Carmelo?
Even if they get Carmelo. Okay. I don't see how they could get past Oklahoma City, the Spurs, and the Warriors. I don't see them getting past all three of those teams. That would be too much of a gauntlet. And then to have to go up against Cleveland, that's no way. No way. I'm sorry. Nick, do you care that DeMarcus Cousins got his 16th technical?
I don't care because I'm not a Sacramento Kings fan, but it's just concerning. Every year this guy gets up and techs and is getting suspended because now with the 16th tech, that means he gets suspended for a game. And the way he got the techs didn't make sense at all to anybody that just thinks common sense. His 2 techs he got. The first one, he pushed a Bulls assistant coach because the Bulls assistant coach was arguing with the referee. He wasn't even saying anything to the Kings. So he pushed this referee, this assistant coach, because I guess he got in his way, and he shoved him with 2 hands. So there's his first tech. And his second tech he got with 2 seconds left in the game when they were down by 8 in, I believe it was overtime, something like that. And he balled his fist and kind of, just yelled and cussed at the referee and got his 16th tech got suspended.
But I mean, his history, it's shown he's a hothead.
He just needs to figure it out. He's, in my opinion, the best center in the NBA, and he's never going to be in the playoffs if he keeps acting like this. Because nobody wants to play with him. Nobody wants to play with a guy that's going to get a tech every single game. So, DeMarcus needs to shape up, and he really doesn't listen to anybody anyways, so he's just got to figure it out on his own. Jared, do you care that Michael Vick retired?
I do care. I was actually a big fan of Michael Vick growing up. He kind of somewhat revolutionized the quarterback play as far as rushing. I mean, I guess you can say Randall Cunningham back in his days with the Philadelphia Eagles was one of the first quarterbacks to really use his legs a lot and not necessarily just rely on his arm. But what Michael Vick was able to do, he was really, in his early days with Atlanta, he was the fastest player on the field.
Yeah.
You don't really say that too much about quarterbacks. Usually that's receivers, cornerbacks, running backs. When he ran, you were not going to catch him. And obviously his arm was a little shaky. He could chuck the ball a mile. His accuracy was always a little bit off, but he was a highlight reel. He was literally a video game player in real life. And then obviously he had his incident with his dogfighting, and a lot of people kind of writ him off. He did his time. He spent 2 years in prison, and then he got out, and he was given a second opportunity. And up until this point, I think he's done everything in his power to change his ways and show that he's a changed man. So some people are never going to ever forgive him for what he's done. I think that he has at least proven that he's become a better person. Obviously, his football skills have diminished completely, but as a person, he's grown up and really learned, right and wrong. So, who knows? Maybe he'll go into the TV analyst spotlight. Maybe he'll just become a mentor. But I think he was a great NFL quarterback for a long time, and then obviously diminished, and then he came back. But sad to see, because he was really one of those first quarterbacks to really be the dual threat guy. And I think now and in today's football, you see so many guys: Cam Newton, Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott. They're more than just throwers. They can run it too and use their legs to help their team win. So he was one of those first guys to really start that.
Very interesting career. Fun to watch. Obviously, the dogfighting stuff tarnished his legacy a lot. But no, congrats on his retirement, and he'll be missed for sure. So on the other side of this quick break, me and Jared will go over the last kind of year in sports, these crazy championship endings, and what sports has kind of been about the last year or so. So we'll be right back, and we'll be talking championship games.
They go length of the court with Archie Diacono. 3 seconds at midcourt. Jenkins gives it to Jenkins for the championship.
Curry catches one dribble, steps back, puts up a three. Won't go. Rebound tip taken by Spades. Final seconds. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
Here's the 0-1. This is going to be a tough play. Bryant, the Cavs win the World Series. Bryant makes the play. It's over. And the Cavs have finally won it all.
Watson. Touchdown! The slot receiver, former walk-on, in back-to-back championship games has made 2 touchdown receptions against Alabama. And they'll talk about that play in the Clemson Nation forever.
319! It's it! Toss to White. He's in! Patriots win the Super Bowl! Brady has his 5th! What a comeback!
Cover 2 podcast live in the OC Rock Radio Studios. Final segment of the day. We've been talking mostly Super Bowl, and we just did a great edition of Do You Care, giving you, kind of refreshing you on the sports news that had to do with the NFL or anything like that. But so this final segment, we kind of just want to dedicate to just the amazing championship games we've had this season. If you look back on it, just some of the storylines that have happened, and with this Super Bowl, and with the Super Bowl being the biggest game and having an ending like that, it was a fitting end to this kind of year of sports, or ever since at least March, or really April, when that basketball national championship happened. So we could just kind of want to review and just talk about why has sports been so crazy lately. And it started, of course, with the college basketball, the end of March Madness. You had Marcus Page making a shot with 10 seconds to go, or something like 10 seconds to go for North Carolina. And then Josh Hart came down for Villanova and made a shot at the buzzer to win the national championship. You move on to the Cavaliers-Warriors Game 7, and the Cavs coming back from a 3-1 deficit to finally bring a championship to Cleveland after about 50 years. You move on, and you have the World Series, and you have the freaking Cubs win the World Series for the first time in 108 years in a Game 7 in extra innings. You move on to the national championship. Clemson wins in the last second, and then, of course, the Super Bowl, 25-point comeback. Falcons blew a 25-point lead, and the Patriots win in overtime. Jared, what are your thoughts on this year in sports?
That is a lot, man. No, it's been an amazing year. And it's really great to see that no matter what sport it is, whether it's college or professional, you're seeing these championship games where it's supposed to be, the two best teams. It's actually coming down to the wire. There haven't been blowouts. They've been fantastic games, both teams competing. I think I might be going a little in depth here, but I really want to kind of take it back to, I think sports is evolving, and it's really starting at a young age. So, even for myself, when I was young, when I was 5-6 years old, I started playing Pop Warner, and then I was playing NJB. And a lot of kids, a lot of parents will put their kids into, sports, different types of sports, and see what they like. Hey, do you want to play soccer? Do you want to play baseball? Do you want to play basketball? And, some kids stick with it. Other kids don't. But I think that kids are starting to take it more seriously at a younger age. Mm-hmm. So when you get into high school now, kids are now purposely going to specific high schools, because this high school is known for their football, or because they're known for their baseball, and it's, hey, this is going to help me get a scholarship to this Division I school that I've always wanted to go to. So their thinking process is different. It's not just all fun and games anymore. It's really more of like a job and a process, And so because they're taking it more seriously, I think you're seeing better talent that's being played and put out on the field and on the courts. Therefore the talent is being spread out more. So, before, especially looking at college, Division I schools would really just dominate with the best talent, and not to say that they still don't. But, you're seeing these other kind of smaller schools like a Gonzaga, for instance, who maybe isn't going to get the players that a Duke or a Kentucky can get. But right now they're number 2 in the rankings, right?
Yeah,
it's because they're getting, maybe the B squad, but it's also a part of their coaching. It's all coming together. So I think it really goes back to that student athletes these days are taking the game a little more seriously, and they're thinking about their futures. It's not just fun and games. And I think that's really just a product of the great play that's happening on the field right now.
I got to agree with you. And you look at high schools now, and especially colleges, you see a lot of players transferring too. So you're able to get a good player that wasn't on your team last year that's not coming from high school. If you're a college coach, you're getting look at FAU, for example. They got a Florida State transfer when Kiffin went over. FAU isn't supposed to have those kind of players.
I didn't even know who FAU was.
Yeah. And Boca Raton. Who cares about Boca Raton? So, no, I agree with you. And then in high school getting a little ridiculous now with all these transfers. I mean, I know a couple kids here in Orange County that they're on their 3rd high school in 2 years. So, but you mentioned it. You have some of these star-studded high schools like the IMG Academy in Florida, which essentially is a sports high school. You have high schools out here in Southern California known for football like Mater Dei and St. John Bosco that has, you look at that top 300, and the top 300, 25 players out of that top 100 are Mater Dei, Bosco, and IMG players. So you're getting that really good talent for championship games. Now, the one thing I want to bring up to you, though, is do you think in some sports, especially basketball, do you think there's too much of like stacking of teams, and do you think that will hurt some of the sports in the long run? Even though we're getting these great championship games, there's not as many teams battling for the championship.
I definitely think that's true. I would say with basketball as compared to other sports like football and or baseball, to where it's more of a team sport. With basketball, you need a superstar. We need one superstar, and that one
really
superstar.
Like 2 now, yeah.
2, yes, but you don't need as many great players to propel you to that championship level. As to where with football and baseball, every single year you need to be recruiting the best of the best of the best, because they're going to keep churning in and out, right? And it's actually more so in basketball now because you have a lot of one-and-done players. Like Duke's Mike Krzyzewski.
Yeah.
He used to not like to recruit the one-and-done players. He wanted players that were going to stay for at least 3 to 4 years, hopefully graduate, get their degree, and then potentially move on to the NBA. But the way that the game has evolved and changed now, he's had to recruit those one-and-done players because if not, you're not going to get the best athletes. Guys don't want to stay in college for 3-4 years. They want to play a year and make their money and then potentially come back and get their degree later on. I think that's actually a problem that the NCAA needs to look into.
Absolutely.
I really don't agree with the one and done. If I'm a 5-star athlete and I get recruited by Duke or whoever it is, and I go to the college basketball Division I ranks, what is my incentive to go to class and study and want to get good grades?
I wouldn't.
If I know that as long as I don't get hurt, I'm going to the NBA next year. What is my incentive? To me, at least with college football and baseball and some of these other sports, you have to be at that school for at least or until your junior year. So you're there for at least 3 years. You understand?
Yeah.
So at least you're closer to graduating to where, if you do go to the professional ranks, you might only have a year left until you graduate or a year and a half. All these basketball players now, it's like, okay, guess what? They get to the NBA. 2 years later, they tear their ACL or they get a back concussion and they have to retire. What are they going to rely on? Now they have to go back to school for 3 more years. And it's not to say that they can't do it because of course you can, but it's just, it's almost, you're almost setting the students up or the student athletes up for failure in a sense because they're not really taking into account what happens if you get injured or what happens if there's a coaching change and that coach doesn't want you anymore. You know what I mean? There's a million different scenarios that can happen to where I feel that these basketball players, sometimes they're chasing the money and it doesn't always work out every time.
No, I agree with you. They need to change the rule for college basketball, especially. Would you still make it able for high school players to get drafted? For basketball. Because baseball's a little different because none of those players ever come up to the big leagues right away. So they're kind of getting developed. They don't just get thrown into the fire.
True.
Bryce Harper comes up at 19, but that's an anomaly. That never happens.
True.
So baseball's a little different. I think you could keep the high school thing going. But college basketball, do you think that?
I would say this. I would have it one way or the other. It's either you take away this, you have to go to college for 1 year and then they can go. They can either go in high school or they have to stay in college until the junior
same as
year.
baseball.
Yes. Yeah. I just really would do away with this whole 1 year thing. So I would take away with that. If a high school athlete is getting the right information and they feel like they're going to get drafted in the first round and they're going to be able to contribute and grow and that's the best solution and situation for them, I'm all for it. Obviously some families don't have a lot of money, so maybe their kid is forced to kind of make that jump from the college ranks after that first year because they need to support their family when realistically maybe they should stay back. So I'm all for that. I don't think it should happen a lot. I think especially high school because they would really need to take a step back and say, hey, listen, is this really the right situation for me? Should I go to college for a couple years and develop myself and then go? But then they're at the risk of injury and potentially never playing again. So, it's every situation is different. But yeah, I would be in favor of pretty much anything over this 1 year and done.
Crap.
Yes, definitely.
I'm going to disagree with you on the high school thing. I don't think they should be able to come out of high school. And I that's strictly being biased towards I want the NBA to get better. I'm sick of seeing these Lakers players, these 18-year-olds play and not be good for 4 or 5 years. I'd rather them play in high-intensity college games against other kids that are 20 and 21, and then they come to the NBA and they're physically ready. I don't think a lot of these high school players are physically ready to play NBA basketball. Now, the game is changing and it's getting less physical, but it annoys me to see guys like D'Angelo Russell, and guys like Brandon Ingram, and even guys like Ben Simmons, who hasn't even played a freaking game in the NBA yet, go out and they're not ready. And they're small and they're super young and they make a ton of mistakes. And that's going to happen if you play the 3 years in college. But I just think specifically with basketball, we need to improve the NBA product and get some of these other teams up there. Because like you just mentioned, there's 3 teams that are going to win an NBA championship this year unless some random trade happens that puts 2 stars on another team. It's going to be the Cavs, it's going to be the Spurs, or it's going to be the Warriors. Maybe
almost guaranteed.
Maybe the Wizards sneak into the finals, or maybe the Celtics sneak into the finals out of the East if LeBron gets hurt or something like that. But other than that, those are the three teams that are going to win. And that just needs to change. And I think if you're putting a bunch of 21-year-olds in the league instead of a bunch of 18-year-olds, I think it changes a little bit.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. You're almost making me want to change my mind now. It's not supposed to happen over here. Going back to what we were originally talking about with the just the great championship game so far. What would you say out of all the college or professional? What was your favorite championship game of the year?
By far the Cubs, and that's just because of the whole 108 years thing. And I'm a Dodger fan. And they eliminated the Dodgers, and I was pissed for the first couple of games of the World Series, and then I saw that the Cubs started to lose, and I was like, okay, well maybe it's time for this curse to end. And the way it ended with that final Game 7 where you had Rajay Davis hit the home run, it barely goes out and it ties the game. He hits it off a Aroldis Chapman guy throwing 102, and then you have the rain delay, you have the team meeting with the Cubs, and you have them come out and win it in the 10th. You can't get much better than that. And so that, for me, that was the best. But to be honest, the Super Bowl was pretty crazy too. I think that's a little biased because it's fresh in my mind.
True.
Obviously, national championship is good, but no rooting interest at all in those games. And I'm not too much of a college basketball fan as far as watching anything other than March Madness, generally, or a big one of those big showcase games where they have like 1 versus 2.
True.
But yeah, no, definitely for me, it was the Cubs. What about you?
I'm actually going to go with a college football championship game with Clemson and Alabama.
Very good game.
Because Clemson was able to make it back to the championship game.
The storyline.
And really, throughout the season, you weren't exactly sure if they were going to. Clemson lost to Pittsburgh at home midway through the year, and everyone was saying, where's this Deshaun Watson? He's supposed to be the number 1 pick coming out of the college football season. The team wasn't necessarily playing at a high cylinder. And so it was pretty interesting to see, where were they going to be? Last year, they were so close to winning. Alabama had that huge kickoff return that kind of sealed the deal for them. So coming into this year, they had that motivation, but at certain points during the year, they didn't necessarily play like it. But it was great to see Dabo Swinney keep his team together, bring them back, and actually defeat the almost undefeatable, Alabama. It was really going into that game. I wanted to see a great game, but I think in the back of everyone's minds, they knew that Alabama, was probably going to win. They have all these 5-star recruits. They have Nick Saban. Even with Lane Kiffin leaving and Sark taking over as offensive coordinator, everyone still thought that Alabama's talent was just going to be too much. But Deshaun Watson showed that, I think he deserves to be the number 1 quarterback drafted this year. Mm-hmm. And just this Clemson as a whole, they never gave up. They jumped out to a lead. Alabama came back. It was back and forth. It was 2 heavyweights going at it. So for me, it was great to see those college players really putting their hearts out, and great for the Clemson fans. Yeah,
fantastic game. And I remember when we were doing our ranking show, we were talking about college football rankings, that I remember saying, Alabama's number 1. And then I know I wanted USC and Penn State to get into the Final Four. And I remember I just said, Clemson's the ACC team, so let's just put them in there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they ended up winning the championship. They beat Alabama. So you never know. And that's the good thing about college, is especially with that, we go back to the March Madness game. You never know.
No.
You would have thought Marcus Page fluttering in the air and making a shot off balance. Oh, that's it. There's no way Villanova is going to win the game.
No way. They're crushed. They're crushed. Yeah.
So, and then they go down and they make that shot. Another cool thing about that March Madness game was that those 2 schools had a lot of guys that stayed for a while.
Yes.
You didn't have the one and dones. I think that's another thing with March Madness. If you actually look at the last couple of years, the teams that have been winning, or at least in the finals, have been the teams that aren't the one in the Kentuckys, the Kansas City. I remember. You remember when Kentucky had that team that was essentially an NBA team 2 years ago?
Yes.
Wisconsin beat them. Wisconsin had guys like Kaminsky, who was in his 5th year. Sam Decker had been there for 2 or 3. Last year, Marcus Page was a 5th-year senior who made the shot. They had a couple other guys like Bryce Johnson, who's the senior too. So it kind of tests or at least goes back to my point. Let's keep guys in there a little longer.
True.
Because you get these great games. And you mentioned the college football again. Deshaun Watson, he's in his third year. He's taking advantage of going out of third years.
He is.
Imagine if they had a bunch of freshmen leave, in college football. College football would suck.
The chemistry.
Yeah,
it
would suck.
You build the chemistry, and you can have the greatest players in the world, but if doesn't matter if you're LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, does not matter. You have to have chemistry in order to win. So it was a great year all around in sports. Didn't really matter what sport. We had fantastic finishes, really setting up for just making the stakes even higher for this year. And obviously, we got off to a great start with the Super Bowl and the Patriots coming back and winning. And so now we're getting pretty close to NBA All-Star break.
March Madness coming up.
March Madness coming up. We got spring training starting soon. So within the next few shows, we will do an entire baseball segment.
Yep.
And break down each
probably
division.
Do a bracket show too.
Oh yes.
That should be fun.
Oh, that'll be very fun. Oh yeah, Dad. So some exciting shows coming your way.
So my final thought on the day is kind of piggybacking on what we were just talking about. High school kids, stay at your school. Okay, it's enough transferring. You're seeing these kids transfer 3 times in their high school career, and it's just you're not getting those like stories. You're getting these super teams now, and high school basketball is almost turning into a little bit of what the NBA is, where there's like 3 or 4 teams that are going to win this year. State champions. They're going to be always in the top of the ranks. It happens in high school football too. Too many guys transferring. Stay at your schools. You're going to make a lot more friends. You're going to have lifelong friends at the high schools. If you're leaving, you're not making as many friends. You're hurting other teams, and you're not making the product as fun to watch. So, stay at your school. Stop transferring in high schools. Okay, in college, stop transferring in high school so much.
My final thought is hallelujah. I know we already talked about it, but I'm just going to reiterate it. I'm so happy Magic Johnson is back with the Lakers. It's great to see him.
Watch out, Jim Buss.
Yeah, it's great to see him just back with the organization that he kind of built himself around. And like I said, even if he's there, he doesn't really have much to do with player personnel or anything like that. Just the fact that he's walking in that building, he's a 5-time NBA champion. He's gained the respect of players not even just in the NBA, all around the world.
Yeah.
So, hopefully that will bring in better talent. Maybe a star or someone to pair with these young players. And I think it's especially going to be great for D'Angelo Russell because he has some of those Magic-type plays where he likes to do the no looks and the fancy passes to get the crowd involved. So I think he'll be able to work with Magic and really pick his brain to say, hey, how did you set up this play? What made you a leader? How did you guys win? What were the steps that it took? Because obviously right now the Lakers have a long way to go. But no, I think that was a great hire by them. And yes, hopefully it does eventually kick Jim Buss out. Sorry to say it, but he needs
to go.
He needs to
get
the heck out.
I know he does. That does it for the Cover 2 podcast. You know what Magic Johnson needs to do? He needs to hook up with the Rams and Chargers to get some stars there. They're horrible.
Just take over all of LA.
Yeah. Exactly. That's if we're gonna finish off on that. Cover 2 podcast. I'm Nick Nenad. Great Super Bowl. I'm Nick Nenad.
I'm Jared Smith.
And we'll see you next week.